Right. A well-rounded education can mean so many things, but for many, art classes might feel a bit out of our league. This is me, or something like we're not capable of providing. So I am really amped to have Abbey Allen of ARTVenturous Animals here today to learn about how her experience as a homeschool grad has informed how she's put together some amazing art classes that are science-infused classes and materials for homeschoolers and traditional schoolers alike. So, Abby, welcome. So glad to have you
Thank
here.
you.
Yahoo!
Good to be here.
Well, first off, you are a homeschool grad yourself, which I think is always a great thing to recognize and kind of hear a little bit of your experience on, if you wouldn't mind sharing kind of some of your experience that you think was really helpful and maybe some downsides, if applicable here.
Yes, and of course you're going to have both. So yes, I'm Abbey Allen. I was homeschooled all the way through to senior year. So never attended like private education or public school or anything like that, and went on to college. And I do have a bachelor's degree, and you know,
Awesome.
did a good job there. So it's not like I didn't actually graduate or something.
Yeah.
So I excelled in college. I really enjoyed about being homeschooled, just like the freedom to pursue the passions and interests that I had, which for most of my life was art. I was talking to my husband about this the other day, that I actually pursued so many different things, which is great. Like that's the point of homeschooling. But there was a time that was like, I'm going to be a nurse, and then I started researching it. I was like, absolutely not. So, but my parents gave me the freedom to do that. At one point, I wanted to go into fashion design really badly. I actually was like making my own dresses and like had a sewing machine. And so my mom got me involved in I don't even know what you would call it, maybe like a nonprofit fashion show, if that makes sense. Like it was like for raising money for something. And I realized I hated it. I hated it so much. But like I did. And that really gave me the freedom to be like, you know what, I don't like that. And so I'm not wasting money when I get to college, you know, like because I realized I didn't like that in high school. So I think that was one of my favorite things about being homeschooled.
That's awesome.
It's just like letting myself do that, which did lead me to being a teacher and being an art teacher specifically, because I realized I love art. One thing I didn't care for, and I did want to write this down, but also clarify, it was a lot of it had to do with, we were a single income household, and just the area we were in, there was not a lot of opportunity, but we did a lot of worksheet homeschooling. I feel like that, like as soon as I say it, you're like, okay, yeah, I know what that is. Like not a lot of hands-on projects, not a lot of opportunity for other teachers to teach me things, which again made me a very good independent learner. I read a lot of books because of that, because like, you know, worksheets were boring. But I would have loved to go back, and I've told my mom this, I would have loved to go back to my mom and be like, here, look at all these products I've made now. Because like this would like totally have been, she would have loved it, but she just didn't have the access to it or money for it. So I wish I could go back and be like, here are all of these art classes and art inspired resources for you. But yeah, those are my two takeaways from homeschooling.
That's huge. That's huge. And really important to identify, like there's so much possibility out there for homeschooling. Yes. And even if you are a single income household in 2024, you know, there's a lot out there that's free or low cost that now we have a little bit more access to. So
yes, the internet is huge. Like you can find free stuff.
Yeah. Yes, true. All right. Well, let's shift a bit to art in homeschool. Could you explain how you've seen this done well, both for kids who are like all in, like all about art, and then kids who are like a little bit more reluctant?
Yes, because there's both, and there's a spectrum where you fit somewhere on there. I believe, and it does go down to like a soul level of this, I believe art needs to be in every child's education. But it doesn't need to be like a structured, you sit down and learn the different techniques and skills of sketching. Like, although that's very cool, I don't think that is necessary for every child, especially if we're talking about elementary. I'm an elementary teacher, you know, by degree and by career. And I just don't see the super technical side of art being necessary at that age, even up until parts of high school. But what I do think is necessary is to get kids outside of their normal thinking patterns. And that's what art does. Art teaches you to see the world a little bit differently, to use the right side of your brain, to think creatively and problem solve. So I think art needs to be incorporated into homeschool and into education. And then for students who just really have an affinity for it, get them into some higher level skills. Yes. Like my parents saved up and got me one art class when I was a kid. And I still remember that art class because like I just really, really loved it. And I was ready to learn some more skills. So it's really just knowing your children and kind of knowing, I want them to have access to this artistic side because it's so beneficial for them. And then if you see a child who's just like drawing all the time, they carry a sketch pad around, that was me, like get them into some higher level technique skills at that point.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And I have one of those kids who's like,
okay,
yep, sketch pad walking around. And so it's really good. I completely see what you're talking about. She's like, yeah, I'm going to, she'll even ask. And I'm so grateful that she'll ask because it's not my, first thought to like have her do some sort of assignment as an artistic kind of expression. She wants to show me what she's learned through art. And so she'll make comics. I love that. She's figured out like stuff on Canva and like paint on the computer, which I feel like is like the most difficult way to like, produce a piece of art. And she'll like figure out how to show, a scene in a book or whatever. So this can be kind of tied in a lot of ways, which is really fun. And I have another one who's like, Amelia can draw it for me. Like,
yeah. I had a sister who'd be like, here, Abby, draw this for me. yeah.
Like, so okay, well, we identified our gifts. This is wonderful.
yeah, exactly. But I love that, like that you allow her to learn and to express what she's learning in that way. Like she probably hates like just sitting down and filling out a test or something like that because her brain is more creative. And so if that is how you can assess what she's learning, that's perfect.
Yeah. And there's pros and cons to that too, because there is a moment to say, actually, no, we do need to write an essay.
Right. You need to do both.
But whenever possible, I want to give that option. All right, Rockin'. Well, you mentioned an art class and they can add up. So if people aren't ready to invest in classes, what can they do at home to kind of foster an environment that encourages wonder and creativity, that kind of accompanies the technical art skills in instruction? What do you see there in terms of like how your classes are unique too?
Exactly, because I love that because again, it goes by each child, but sometimes you don't know what the child is interested in until you set it up for them. And so this is more of a concept that I think is actually kind of like a Montessori concept, but having a creation station in your house where you have like a little corner and you've got, beautiful pictures or posters. I love having color wheels like this up. Just things that are inspiring to you, or really have your children help you pick them out. Like what inspires you? What makes you happy? Having that in a little corner with paper they can grab, with markers, coloring utensils, even watercolor. I know that can be stressful, but like you might have to show your children how to use it a few times before you just put it out there. But like if you feel like they can do that, put watercolor out there, just have different ways so that, like what you're saying, if your daughter's like, I just need to express this concept and I don't know how to do it with words, let me just get this piece of paper out and show you. And then you can work the words into it, even drawing on top. I definitely had a hard time learning how to write well. And it's something that like I'm good at now, but I have to know, I need to like mind map it out on a piece of paper. I need to draw it out. Then I add words on top and then I can organize everything. So I think a creation station is huge for that. Even like not just little kids, like even 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Because it's still how my brain works. So I know. You can also look for anything that's hands-on projects, because typically hands-on means you're using the right side of your brain. And then anything that has the initial STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math is huge, because that's not going to be a formal art class, but you're going to be learning through art. And so a lot of those can be free. or things you just already have around your house. You just go into Pinterest and type in STEAM, or go on Instagram or something like that. And that's not any extra money you're spending. That's just stuff you're gathering from around your house.
That's huge. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So gather materials, have kind of an inspirational space, let go a little bit as somebody who like didn't let let glitter into their home until like the kids were a little bit older. That those are the kind of the baby steps. And watercolors, they can take a second to figure out, but if you just buy like a cheap set for a second, let your 2, 3, 4-year-old play around with it, they're really not that messy, as long as you've got like a decent, plastic table. That's not
just
going to get
put paper towels in the creation station as well. There should always be paper towels, like something like that.
Very good. Yeah, exactly. So having all that there and then having the opportunity to link it to lots of different subjects. I love the idea of STEAM, and that can tie into everything really. So that's huge. Awesome. Okay. Well, your art classes are super unique. Our kids have gotten the chance to do a couple lessons on there. And I told them as as they were getting ready for bed last night, I'm going to talk to Miss Abby tomorrow. And I said, oh, tell her we said hi. So they love seeing, a real face, a real person who's teaching them something. And your classes are really unique, and you've developed your courses in kind of an interesting way where they're so infused with science. Can you describe a little bit about how you've developed those and how you put them together?
Absolutely. So I do pre-recorded classes right now because it's easier for my schedule. I am 8 months pregnant, and it's easier for homeschool moms and families. Usually I find it just works better. So you can go on there, watch the lesson where I'm teaching a skill. And this is definitely for those kids who are talking about carry the sketch pad around. They're ready to learn why what they're drawing makes sense. They're ready to learn a few more techniques, but it's not anything super advanced. I usually recommend my classes for like 3rd through 6th grade. Sometimes it could be a little younger, sometimes a little bit older, but like around there, because it's teaching all of those skills, but in a way that's not overwhelming. So what I have learned from teaching art classes is that you can easily bog down a child's creativity by teaching them technical art skills. Like when you say like, oh, okay, well, you didn't do the shading right on that one. Let's fix that or something. Like even if you say it in a really nice way, it's better to let them discover what is correct and what it looks like on their own. Because that is typically how kids get interested in art, is they just are expressing themselves. So my classes are all infused with either nature or animals, because kids just relax with that. They love it. It comes naturally to them. And if I tell you to, I tell this child, we're going to look at this picture of this cute cat and we're going to draw this, immediately there's no fear there. But if I say, we're going to technically draw out this human face and we're going to use the symmetry method, which is awesome for older, by the way, it's awesome for older ages. But usually in that, upper elementary ballpark, it just completely shuts down the brain and moves learning to the left side of the brain, where it's more of like a math or grammar at that point. I think that's why a lot of kids don't like art, because they're like, but I don't have the technical skill for it. So that's why I made all of these pre-recorded classes, to kind of like break through that a little bit, to teach technical skills without taking away the creativity.
I love that. And even, and this may not be like immediately like evident to you as a teacher, but even watching my kids do those classes, they were able to pause it. And if they did want to have a new piece of paper, if they did want to change pencils or sharpen a pencil, they didn't feel the pressure of like, my teacher's waiting for me, or like the other kids in the class think I'm not prepared or something like that. There's no,
or like I did it wrong and now everyone knows I did it wrong. There's no pressure. So
cool. So that's huge. And even the idea of making mistakes. I also teach online, and so talking to kids about how, do you like to be wrong? We talk a lot about, you got the wrong answer. All of our classes are set up where like they get the wrong answer at some point intentionally, and we say, do you like being wrong? Oh, I don't like being wrong. None of us really like being wrong, but there's always one kid who's like, but it gets you closer to the answer. And I go, heck yeah, because that gives us it gets us one more step closer to where we really want to be. It gives us information, it gives us clues. And I hear what you're saying is, maybe that shading technique, maybe my paper was too wet from the watercolors. Maybe I should have started with smaller strokes. Maybe I should have, X, Y, or Z. So there's all this problem solving involved there. And if we can kind of lower that anxiety on what's correct versus what I've learned or how I can fix this problem, that's huge.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, Abby, your socials are so fun. I love that you bring in little tips and activities, and they're like stuff laying around the house. I mean,
yes, that's the
can you
goal.
give us a little example of one of the ones? I'm thinking of like your snowstorm one that you shared.
Yes, I love that one because that one was so easy. So easy. I took a little gingerbread clip art that I made. Oh, so on all of my products that I make, I do the clip art as well. And I make all of the animals because, again, that's what I learned to do when I was being homeschooled. I learned how to draw. So now I draw on all of my stuff. So I've drawn these little gingerbread like characters, and I've made it into a freebie, so you guys can go download it actually. And you print it out, cut it out, put it into a little sandwich bag, throw some ends of some cotton swabs in there, and you can shake it up and make a little snowstorm. But then it's so easy, it's so simple, and you have all of that. But then I also include a snowstorm kind of like mini science lesson in there. Because that's the whole point of art too. Like, you're supposed to be thinking creatively so that you can learn. It's kind of like how we teach kids to read so that they can learn. Like, that's how we should be doing art as well.
Yeah, that's huge. And I guess as that not as artsy type person, I'm like, oh, I got those things. This is a quick thing.
Yeah, we can do that.
We're busy, but like that is going to be something that they carry around with them for a little while. And so it's going to be, it's an easy and can be extended, I guess, type of activity. And so all of the science linked resources that you have are all based on standards too, which I think are also really important as we're kind of going through. We don't want to be box checkers in our homeschool, but at the same time, we do need to be diligent that we're, working our way through the standards that we need to hit if we're working in that framework. So I love that you've done that with your resources too. All right. Well, how can people keep up with you on socials, and where can they find your classes and materials?
Yes. So normally I'm posting on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook like pretty consistently. But guys, I am going to have a baby soon. So I'm in my like batching mode of getting things ready. So really, if you want to hear from me weekly, go to my email list. You can get a freebie while you're in there. But if you want to hear from me and figure out like what I'm doing, I'll be sending out lots of good ideas. I'm making all of the ideas to send out to you so that I can have her, and not have to worry about going on social media. But then hopefully sometime in May or June, I will get back to sharing art ideas that you can incorporate into your homeschool and learn from.
Perfect. And those emails, you guys, they are always full of really valuable tips or encouragement, or stories or freebies. And so it's worth it. I love it. Well, cool. Well, we'll let you sit down for a second and enjoy that time with baby girl. Now, last question I always ask people is, what are you loving about your role in education at the moment?
Yes, I actually can't believe it's taken me this long to say it in this video, but I love that I am living on the other side of the world from America. I'm living in Thailand right now as an expat. My husband teaches here, and I love that I can stay home with my babies and still be influential in the homeschool education space and still help people. Like, I love hearing from people. So please tell me if you ever use any of my products, let me know how you're using it. It's so encouraging. And I love that I get to have this lifestyle at the same time.
Absolutely. Ditto. I love it. Oh, good. Well, Abby, thank you so much. I've loved learning from you, and I know my kids have too, and I hope many, many more will as well. And if you guys have not yet followed Abby at ARTVenturous Animals, please go do that and say thank you to her for being here. So Abby, thank you for being here. And to those of you who are watching, thank you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. It's really important.
Thank you.
Happy teaching.